Life is filled with moments of sacrifice, love, and the unexpected lessons that shape who we become. This is the story of a mother, Emily, who gave everything for her children, only to find herself abandoned and forgotten in her later years. But through heartache and betrayal, Emily embarks on a journey of self-discovery, reclaiming her life and her voice. Join us as we explore her story of resilience, forgiveness, and the power of standing up for oneself. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to begin today's story on Life Stories. The snow crunched beneath my boots as I made my way up the long, curved driveway, clutching the small package in my gloved hands. It was Christmas Eve, and the world around me was bathed in the soft, chilly glow of holiday lights. Every corner of the grand mansion ahead of me twinkled with festive cheer. A stark contrast to the solitude I had come to know over the past year and a half. The cold air hung in my breath, a visible reminder of my own insignificance in the warmth of this lavish world. I had spent the last 18 months living in a tiny room above Mrs. Peterson's garage. The space was small, modest, but it had become mine. A place I rented after my children's lives had flourished and mine had, by comparison, crumbled. No more family dinners, no more invitations to join them for anything. I existed now in their memories, not in their lives. In their world, I was an inconvenience. As I approached the massive oak door, I hesitated. The worn coat I was wearing felt thin against the cold, and I suddenly became acutely aware of the modest gift I was holding. A handcrafted photo album, filled with images of our family from 3 years ago. It was all I could afford, but it was something meaningful. 3 years ago, I would have been inside that house, greeting guests, refilling champagne glasses, making small talk and big decisions. But things were different now. 3 years ago, I had sold everything to help my children pursue their dreams. "You're making the right choice, Mom," my daughter Sophia had said, her voice so sure as she reassured me that I was doing the best thing for our future. David, my eldest, nodded enthusiastically. "Once the restaurant takes off, you'll have your own wing in my house," he promised. Sweet Lily, my youngest, had hugged me tight and whispered, "Your sacrifice won't be forgotten. I promise." I believed them. After their father passed away, leaving us with nothing but debts and memories, I had poured every ounce of my energy into raising them alone. The house we lived in was the culmination of 30 years of hard work. And I had sold it all, every corner, every inch of it, to fund their businesses. David's restaurant, Sophia's boutique, Lily's graphic design firm, all were my investment in their futures. For a while, I lived with each of them in turn, staying in spare bedrooms as their businesses grew. But as they flourished, so did their distance from me. The invitations became fewer, the phone calls less frequent. Eventually, I found myself alone in that tiny rented space above Mrs. Peterson's garage, surviving on my modest pension and occasional substitute teaching jobs. Standing before the mansion now, I felt the weight of my sacrifices they didn't seem to remember. I reached out and pressed the doorbell, feeling like a stranger in a place I once called home. Through the frosted glass, I could see the silhouettes of people moving about in elegant attire, their laughter spilling into the cold night air, a reminder of all I had once belonged to but no longer did. The door swung open. There stood my daughter, Sophia. She was radiant in a red cocktail dress, her hair swept up in a style I had never seen before. For a moment, she looked at me with a smile, but as her eyes met mine, her expression faltered. "Mom?" she asked, her voice carrying more confusion than warmth. "What are you doing here?" I stood there, my heart sinking. "I brought a Christmas gift," I said, extending the small package. "I thought maybe I could join you all for a bit. It's been so long." Sophia stepped back, partially closing the door behind her. The cold air bit at my cheeks, but the chill in her eyes was far worse. "I'm sorry, but this is a private event," she said, her voice lowered. "We have important clients here. David and Lily, too. It's not a good time." I felt as if I had been slapped. The weight of her words, The indifference in her tone crushed me. I was her mother, but now, I wasn't welcome. Not a good time? I repeated, my voice trembling with the shock of it all. I'm your mother. Sophia glanced nervously over her shoulder, her eyes flickering back toward the warmth of the house. Maybe we can have lunch next week, she said, her voice hollow. I'll call you. But we both knew she wouldn't. Just like she hadn't returned my calls for the last 3 months. And in that moment, something inside me broke. The realization hit me like a wave, crashing over me with an intensity I couldn't ignore. I had become an inconvenience to my own children, a reminder of their humbler beginnings. I was no longer a part of their shiny, new lives. I looked past Sophia into the room beyond. David was there, laughing with a group of people, a glass of champagne in his hand. Lily was nearby, arranging hors d'oeuvres on a silver platter. They were all here, all together, and I wasn't even a part of their world anymore. What I did next wasn't planned. It wasn't calculated or meant to teach a lesson. It was simply the action of a woman who had reached her limit. I took a deep breath, squared my shoulders, and gently pushed past my daughter into the warmth of the house. Conversations faltered, heads turned, the room fell silent except for the soft Christmas music playing in the background. Mom, Sophia hissed, mortified, as I stood there, clutching my small gift in my second-hand coat, facing a room full of strangers and the children I had given everything to save. And then, with a calm I didn't know I possessed, I placed the package on a nearby table, removed my coat, and spoke in a clear voice that carried to every corner of the suddenly silent room. Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm Emily, Sophia, David, and Lily's mother. The silence that followed was absolute. My children stared at me, frozen in shock, as every guest in the room turned to look at them. In their eyes, I saw something I had never expected to see, shame. But what happened next would change everything for me, for my children, and for the future of our fractured family. The silence in the room felt like it stretched on forever, broken only by the soft hum of the Christmas music playing faintly in the background. My children stood motionless, their eyes locked on me as if they were seeing a ghost. The guests, most of them strangers to me, watched in stunned silence, unsure of what to make of the scene unfolding before them. I could feel their eyes on me, a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. For a moment, I thought I might crumble. I had never imagined that the simple act of showing up at my own daughter's home would lead to such a confrontation. But standing there, facing my children, my own flesh and blood, something inside me shifted. The anger, the hurt, the years of being unseen and unheard, all converged into a single, defining moment. It was then that I heard his voice, cutting through the tension. Emily Wallace? The voice was warm, yet carrying an unmistakable note of disbelief. I turned to see a distinguished older man, silver-haired and well-dressed, stepping forward from the crowd. His eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that caught me off guard. Yes, that's me, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. I was still trying to steady myself, my emotions running wild. Who was this man? How did he know me? He smiled, recognition lighting up his face. I can't believe it. Emily Wallace, you probably don't remember me, but I'll never forget you. I'm John Harmon. You taught my son, Michael, back in 2001. He was struggling, and you stayed after school 3 days a week to help him. I blinked, taken aback. Michael, I remember him, I said softly, the memory flooding back. He had such a way with words. He just needed someone to believe in him. John's face softened, and his voice grew warm with affection as he addressed the room. This woman, he said, she saved my son's future. Michael's now a published author, and he credits Emily with changing his life. The room shifted. The guests, who had been watching with curiosity and uncertainty, now turned their attention to me. I could feel the weight of their gazes. But there was something different about the silence that followed. It wasn't the same cold judgment I had felt from my children. This silence was one of awe, of recognition. Michael, I repeated, still in disbelief. He really made it? John nodded, his eyes gleaming with pride. He's written several books. He's successful now. And he's always said that if it weren't for Emily's belief in him, he wouldn't be where he is today. I felt a lump rise in my throat. I had helped so many students over the years, pouring my heart into my work. But to hear that one of them had truly made something of themselves because of my dedication, it was a gift I hadn't expected. One that came at the exact moment I needed it most. Thank you, I whispered, barely able to speak. He was a special student. I'm so proud of him. John turned to the guests, his voice carrying across the room. Emily Wallace is a legend at Westridge High. You may not know it, but there's even a scholarship named after her now. She dedicated her life to her students, and she made a difference in so many lives. The words struck me like a lightning bolt. A scholarship? Named after me? I glanced over at my children, expecting to see their expressions filled with pride, or at least some recognition of what I had done. But instead, I saw confusion, even fear. They were all here, yet none of them had ever told me about this scholarship, about the recognition that was rightfully mine. They hadn't shared this part of my life, this part of who I was. John continued, his voice tinged with disbelief. When I heard that Westridge had lost touch with you, I couldn't believe it. I've been trying to find you for years to thank you properly. And then I heard from the school that your family had said you were traveling abroad. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. They had lied. My own children had lied about me. They had kept me in the dark. Even about something so simple as an award. They had shut me out of my own recognition, just as they had done with everything else. My heart sank as I looked at them. How could they do this to me? How could they hide something so important? Something that would have meant the world to me? David approached, his eyes darting nervously between John and me. What award ceremony? He asked, his voice trembling with unease. John, clearly surprised by the question, answered without hesitation. The Westridge Legacy Award. It comes with a $50 grant. We tried to reach Emily, but when we couldn't get a hold of her, we contacted her family. We were told she was traveling. I stood frozen, the implications of John's words crashing over me in waves. My children had intercepted communications about an award and the money meant for me. They had deliberately kept me in the dark. Did you cash the check? John asked, his tone sharp now. I didn't need to wait for their answer. The guilt was written all over their faces. The truth was laid bare. My children, the ones I had sacrificed everything for, had hidden this from me, just as they had hidden so much else. Lily, appearing suddenly at David's side, looked like she might collapse. Mom, we can explain, she began, but her voice cracked with emotion. I held up a hand, silencing her. I don't think there's much to explain, I said, my voice steady, but the hurt was evident. The pieces are falling into place now. All the mysterious calls I've been getting from unknown numbers. The mail you offered to collect for me. It all makes sense. John took a step back, looking at me with a mixture of sympathy and understanding. I don't mean to intrude, Emily, he said, his voice softening, but if there's anything I can do to help. I turned to face him, my mind still reeling. I appreciate it, I said quietly, but I think my children and I need to have a private conversation. John nodded, pressing a business card into my hand. Please, feel free to call me tomorrow. We have a lot to discuss. As the last of the guests moved into the dining room, I turned to face my 3 children, my heart heavy with a mixture of sadness and anger. There was so much to say, but where could I even begin? The dining room doors swung open as the last of the guests left, and I was left standing with my 3 children, the very same children I had given everything to, only to be pushed aside when I became an inconvenience. David, Sophia, and Lily were standing there, each with their own expression. David's defiance, Lily's silent tears, and Sophia's practiced composure that was now cracking. I could feel the weight of their eyes on me, as if they weren't sure what to do with me now that I had forced this confrontation into the open. Mom, Sophia began, her voice shaky but still carrying the air of control she had always maintained. This isn't what it looks like. I raised my hand, silencing her before she could continue. No, it's exactly what it looks like. I said quietly. You've been hiding things from me. Lying to people about me. You've been treating me like a burden. Like I don't matter anymore. The words hung in the air, thick and heavy. And now, I know why. David shifted uneasily, avoiding my gaze. We were protecting you, he said, his voice low, but there was a hardness to it. As if he was trying to justify the unjustifiable. We didn't want you to have to worry about all the stress of responsibility. Protecting me? I echoed, my voice gaining strength with each word. From what? From a job? Financial security? Recognition for my work? I looked each of them in the eye. One by one. You've been keeping me in the dark. Feeding me lies. And all under the pretense of protecting me. Lily wiped her eyes, her face a mixture of regret and helplessness. We were going to tell you about the award. Mom, she said, her voice breaking. We just thought it was better for you if we didn't. Better for me? I repeated, the disbelief clear in my voice. Better for me to struggle. To live in a tiny room above a garage while you all built your businesses and your lives? I could feel my heart pounding in my chest as I took a step closer to them. You didn't think I deserved any of it, did you? The award, the recognition, the money meant for me. You justified it by saying it was all for my own good. But really, it was all for you. A cold silence fell over the room. And I could see the guilt washing over their faces. The truth was finally out. But it didn't feel like the relief I had expected. It felt like an aching emptiness. A void I wasn't sure how to fill anymore. My own children had taken everything I had worked for, using it to fund their dreams without any regard for mine. Where did the money go? I demanded, the words leaving my mouth before I could stop them. All of it, the money I gave you for your businesses. Where is it? David shifted uncomfortably, his face hardening. This isn't the time or place for this conversation, he said, his voice defensive. Oh, it's exactly the time, I countered, because I'm done waiting for you three to remember I exist. I'm done being pushed aside. I'm done sacrificing everything and getting nothing in return. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the card John had given me earlier. My fingers brushed against the cold edges of the business card as I held it up for them to see. Tomorrow, I said calmly, I'm calling John. I'm accepting the job. I'm taking the award money. And I'm going to make some changes in my life. David stood up, his expression one of growing frustration. You can't seriously be considering this. He muttered. You can't turn your back on us. Not after everything we've been through. I met his gaze with a steady, unwavering look. I'm not turning my back on anyone. David, I said quietly, I'm standing up for myself. Something I should have done a long time ago. Sophia, who had been standing silently until now, stepped forward. Her professional smile was back. But I could see the panic flickering behind her eyes. Mom, please, can we discuss this tomorrow? She said urgently. Tonight's important for the business. My future depends on this event. I couldn't help the bitterness that rose in my chest at her words. Your future? I repeated, my voice trembling with suppressed emotion. What about my future, Sophia? My life doesn't revolve around your business anymore. It's time for me to live for me. I turned to leave, but before I could reach the door, Lily's voice stopped me. Mom, please. We're sorry. We didn't mean for it to be like this. I paused, my hand on the door handle. Sorry, I whispered, more to myself than to them. Sorry doesn't fix what's been broken. What's been taken from me. And with that, I walked out the door, leaving my children behind, the same children I had sacrificed everything for. Only to be cast aside when they no longer needed me. As I stepped into the night, I felt a sense of finality wash over me. The snow crunched beneath my boots as I walked away from the mansion. The echoes of the night's revelations ringing in my ears. I had no idea what the future would hold. But I knew one thing for sure. It was time to take back control of my life. Months had passed since that Christmas night. But I could still feel the weight of it all. the betrayal, the pain, and the unexpected redemption. I had made the decision to embrace my independence, to reclaim the life that I had spent so many years giving away. The job offer, the award money, the recognition that had been hidden from me, all of it was now in my hands. But the real transformation had come from within. I had moved into the lake house with Charles, finding peace in a place I had once dreamed of but never thought I would see again. With the teaching position at Westridge, I had rediscovered my purpose, and the educational outreach program we developed together was already gaining attention. For the first time in years, I was waking up to a life that felt like mine, one that was not defined by my children's expectations, but by my own dreams and ambitions. As for my children, they came to visit me occasionally. Our relationships were still strained, but there was a quiet understanding between us now. The road to healing would be long, but we had started the journey. We were all learning how to be a family again, not based on obligation or sacrifice, but on mutual respect and love. I looked out over the lake, the sunlight sparkling on the water as my phone buzzed with a text message from Sophia. "We're about 20 minutes away. Bringing lunch as promised." I smiled, a sense of cautious hope filling my heart. No matter what the future held, I knew this. I had finally learned the most important lesson of all, that in order to love others fully, I had to first love and honor myself. To follow more inspiring life stories, be sure to subscribe to our channel for new videos and updates. Thank you for being part of this journey.